Yeah, as of today, TCG is our number one master agent year to date, so we're looking to continue that. But my name is Rob Rogerson, National Channel Manager for Momentum. I cover pretty much from Texas all the way east, work with all the masters, TCG being our favorite master of all of them. So what we want to do today, we really didn't want to talk about products and not say bore, but bore you with so many things you're really never going to remember. But what we want to do is really talk about a couple case studies. So really how we're winning business. A lot of people view Momentum as a voice company only, going after UCaaS. But over the past couple of years, we've had some acquisitions. I'll just touch on them briefly. 2 years ago, we bought a company, CloudNet Group, out of Phoenix, and we primarily bought them for their SD-WAN practice. So that has really elevated us to another level. And then the most exciting news or acquisition that we had was beginning of the year. We bought a network aggregator out of New York called Metro Optical. So that has given us the ability to deliver fiber access anywhere around the world. So whether you're looking for 100 meg, whether you're looking for 10 gig, dark fiber, anywhere in the world, we will be a resource for you guys. What's nice about that is, it could be sold as a standalone product. So we've been opening a lot of doors just by having that product set in itself. So what's happening today, as you know, the bandwidth is just doubling and tripling. It used to double and triple every 90 days. Now it's doubling and tripling almost every 6 weeks. So we're getting requests. We're averaging, give or take, 450 pricing requests a day for fiber circuits. So 1 gig, 10 gig, as I mentioned, companies are just eating up bandwidth. And what you want to realize, I'm sure everybody does, but when you're talking about MPLS, right? So the migration today is off of MPLS onto SD-WAN. So you guys out here that are prospecting into these customers, I would absolutely talk about what are you using today for wide area networking. If they are using MPLS, that's when you talk about SD-WAN. My contract, I still have a contract with CenturyLink for another 2 years. That's fine because they are looking at diverse circuits for DIA, internet access. And we're getting our foot in the door in a ton of opportunities by going after that diversity first. And then when the customer is ready, obviously they have all these diverse circuits in there. When the contract's up for MPLS, they can make that easy migration. They already have it in there. But diversity is another big play on the circuit side that we're winning. So if you have a customer who has 1 gig with AT&T, they need a diverse route, come to us, but make it real easy and make it real self-explanatory for us. Hey Tom, I'm looking for a diverse circuit in Chicago. They have AT&T. I just need to stay away from them. So the more information you guys give us up front on that stuff, the better. But also the UCaaS, a contact center, we're selling a ton of that stuff. So anyway, I don't want to take all of Tom's thunder. Tom Grady is your local resource here in Florida, and he'll really go anywhere that you guys need him to go. He's opportunity driven. So Tom, anyway, I don't want to keep going. So everyone, Tom Grady, thank you very much for having us. I've gone all along.
So thank you very much for spending some time with us this afternoon. I know it was, of course, when we arrive, it starts to rain again. So as Rob mentioned, we really have gone through a lot of change with Momentum in the last, even the last 8 months. With the acquisitions we've made, the additions to our portfolio that we'll talk about in a moment. But two goals we wanted to go through today with you is that we have, with this group is, one, how do we succeed, or how do you succeed with us? What makes a successful partnership, right? And number two is what you may have known about Momentum in the past, again, has changed. So we want to provide you a little overview, a little education on who is and what is Momentum today, and how that can benefit you guys. With the acquisitions Rob mentioned, this is kind of how we look now. We've been around since 2001, so we're coming into year 19. So there's a pretty high level of expertise and experience in what we do from an engineering as well as an operations and deployment support standpoint. Almost 500,000 users in production and under support today. Many of them actually have been with us right from the start. So very high level of customer retention rate, high 90s. as well as, obviously revenues. We're a $150 million company today. That is, going to continue to rise just based on, again, some of the product set and the solutions that we've got in place today that, we feel are going to actually increase deal sizes because of some of the pieces and parts that we can bring to the table that in the past we never really had available to us. So two things that, that Momentum does that we bring to the table on the front end and then on the back end that we think differentiate us in the market. When customers engage us, when you engage us with, with one of your clients, they're very likely going through or about to go through some kind of transformation. They want to make a change. They want to migrate. There's going to be change, and change means pain, right? So one of the things that we do is we spend a lot of time and we approach clients from a very consultative perspective. We bring in engineering, we do a deep dive, we do discovery. We want to find out where are they having challenges and where can we fit into those gaps with, our portfolio and our solution set. So engage us early, that's the message. Allow us to come in with you, have the conversation with the clients, as we'll see, with the case studies. That was the fruit that, we were able to bear by going through that process, and it really does make a difference. Number two is really that second line item, which I think is one of the main things that, again, kind of separates us from the crowd, so to speak. We call it our white glove deployment and training services. So when we are going in to actually deploy a client, it is actually a Momentum engineer and staff that goes on site at every site and actually does the deployment and the training for the client. So we don't configure and drop ship and then kind of do it over the phone or remotely and have them, do it themselves. It is actually, our guys that go on site and do that for the client. So very important, as we're going through even some of the, the larger clients. Like many of us, here in this room, we're all looking to move upstream, right? Larger deal sizes, larger client sizes, and that makes a big difference when they don't have to expend resources themselves to actually do these deployments. So what does Momentum look like today? As I mentioned, Rob gave us a couple of examples of the acquisitions we've made. Momentum is still going through a bit of an acquisition mode. So if it makes sense for us to actually bring somebody in and fit a gap that we don't have in our portfolio today, our senior management they're going to do it. So we're listening to our clients, we're understanding where the market is taking us, and we want to actually then adapt that to what we're delivering as far as our cloud offerings. So I kind of refer to it really as communications as a service. It's not just UCaaS. UCaaS is where we were born. UCaaS is still the core of what we do. But what we've actually done here now is we've rounded out that pie, so to speak. So now, instead of having a single conversation about just voice, just UCaaS, it doesn't have to necessarily just be that conversation. We can actually have multiple conversations. So you'll see up here in the upper left, UCaaS, our enterprise hosted voice services, that's still the core, that's our baby, that's still what we do. It's a BroadSoft-based architecture. It is a geo-redundant back-end secure architecture. We do support, the usuals, Polycom, Yealink. One important point, though, to make, Cisco purchased BroadSoft 2-3 years ago now. So we at Momentum actually have almost enjoyed the best of both worlds. We're a separate service provider. Again, we have our own BroadSoft architecture and network, but we gain the advantage of Cisco's deep pockets. They're the ones actually expending money to do R&D and actually, benefit us by bringing out these new features and enhancements to the BroadSoft platform. So when they come out, we gain the advantage of that. So we've actually gone ahead and then certified Cisco handsets on our platform. So that opens up to us now a whole pool of Cisco clients that are on-prem today who want to move that on-prem call manager to the cloud. So that gives us actually avenues into even Cisco because they benefit from that migration strategy as well. And starting in 2020, I think first quarter is probably the target, we'll be offering a Microsoft Teams voice solution as well. So that's going to open up, even further a pool for us as far as, who we can go after as far as a hosted voice solution. Customers who are moving from Skype, to MS Teams who want to voice-enable Teams and use that as not just their collaboration tool or standard, but also actually use it as a back-end voice solution as well. So we'll be coming out with more information for you on that in the next few weeks, as a matter of fact. And then finally, hybrid solutions. We can deliver SIP trunking. into multiple on-premise solutions. So we can create either temporary hybrid solutions or long-term hybrid solutions. So if you want to go cloud, or phase in cloud in certain areas, but maintain, an on-prem presence in certain locations, we can bring SIP trunking in and actually tie the two together, which is kind of unique for us in the market. And then what we've done is again, round out the pie. So cloud contact center. Contact center, we're having many more conversations around contact center. It's especially here in Florida. Florida is a hotbed for contact center. So we actually deliver two separate cloud contact center solutions. One is based on BroadSoft, and the other actually is Cisco's WebEx Contact Center that we call Contact One. So it does still fall under the Momentum umbrella. Everything I'm talking about here all falls under the Momentum umbrella, which is great. Because what we have the ability to do is bring multiple solutions to the client, have a real world impact on their vendor management. I mean, I'm sure you see it out there, right? You may go into somebody and they're dealing with 5, 6, 7 vendors sometimes, and they spend half the time just bouncing between these vendors on support, product enhancements, how do they integrate, things like that. So our goal is to try to bring a lot of these pieces and parts together, give them economies of scale, drive down, of course, costs, but drive up value and drive up revenue for us and our partners. Rob touched on this. One of the fastest growing pieces of this portfolio today is our optical network. It is global, so areas such as Central and South America we're doing phenomenal in. Actually, China we're doing phenomenal in as well. So if you have clients who are looking to move away from some of their current providers, keep us in mind. We're doing, a lot of just network, where we're going in and doing kind of a land and expand, type of concept where, maybe today they're not ready to make this jump in the UCaaS space, but they are looking to make a change on the network side.
Are you guys operating local PIDs in those countries?
It depends on the country. Yeah, it depends on the country. So if you've got certain countries in mind as far as voice, let us know, and then we can run a check to see where we can actually provide local dial tone versus someplace maybe we might have to put a gateway.
Okay. We're actually in the process now of being certified in most of the EMEA countries. Probably down on the roadmap.
Yeah, it's going to depend on really what we're seeing from my customers, the priority sites, the locations. EMEA is probably the hotbed really right now. Now, network, we can go anywhere. Voice is where we really have to check, where we can be, pretty solid as far as local dial tone. Yep. Good question, thank you. So, again, on the optical networking, we couple that with the CloudNet acquisition that we made, so we can, if they want, layer our managed SD-WAN on top of that. We can actually work with their SD-WAN currently. So if they want to, if they already have an SD-WAN from FatPipe, for instance, and they want to start bringing in circuits, whether it's DIA or they want to do, Ethernet point-to-points, we can actually then, complement, their current SD-WAN if they want. And of course, we can't do anything without our collaboration tools. So, of course, we bring a full suite of audio, video, web, conferencing tools, as well as soft phone, mobility, to the table as well. For clients who may have remote workforces, somebody who is looking to actually push people out more remotely, maybe reducing or combining offices, which we're seeing quite a bit. That's going on a lot in the data center world. So if you deal with customers who have or are undergoing data center consolidation, data center moves, those are big areas for us as well to talk about network. Again, it's a transformation, right? It all boils down to what kind of change are they looking to make? What kind of pain do they anticipate in that change? And then, what kind of resources can I bring in to actually ease that transition, that migration? And then, of course, I mentioned the white glove. We wrap that up in the end, with our team who goes in and actually does the full deployment, trains the, users on the platform or whatever applications we're deploying. And then we hand them over to our 24/7, 365 support organization. So that's the portfolio today. You'll see up here in the upper left and down here at the bottom by the SD-WAN, this year in 2019, we actually won awards from Internet Telephony for both products. So we're pretty high on how we can bring, a more of a well-rounded solution set basically to our clients today. Any questions? Anything anybody has? I know Barry had a good question about international voice. No? All right. So, customer case studies. These are very telltale in how we go through our process, right? And how we mix in these various pieces and parts of the portfolio. So, unfortunately, before my time, we had a customer, again, a win that we had with TCG right here in South Florida. And, you know, it was a matter of an organization. It was an insurance company, and actually many regulated industries that we deal with are, you know, coming to somebody like us because of the way that we handle security, the way that we actually adhere to things like HIPAA, in the financial world, GLBA or FFIEC, utilities, same thing with their NERC and FERC requirements. So we can actually deal with multiple regulated industries. But in this case, it was really more about, you know, you see some of the challenges there, for instance, manual reporting. You know, they had self-service options, PCI compliance. You know, again, if you're dealing with retail or anybody like that, you know, these days, PCI compliance comes up almost all the time these days. You know, limited growth potential. So they were locked into that typical on-prem world where technology, remember, technology was always back then, or even now, telling the customer how they were supposed to do business. Whereas now where we have the ability to come in with our cloud solutions, it's the other way around. We can actually now adopt cloud solutions around how you, the customer, want to do business. So that's what we did. You know, we went through our process that I mentioned earlier. We were engaged. We did discovery. We brought in the resources to really completely understand what is driving this customer. What do they want to do? You know, here's what they look like today. So, you know, here's the situation at the top here. This is what they look like today. You know, we went through, you know, all of that with them, and then try to understand where do they want to get to? You know, what does point B need to look like, or what do they want it to look like? And then from there, we built the roadmap, right? So the roadmap is really right down here, the solution set. You know, we're actually deploying, or I believe we're actually about done deploying, our UCaaS solution, along with our mobility and soft phone. We are using our Contact One Cloud Contact Center for about 300 or so agents. And I think actually they've added on even since then. So this is a growing account. So it really allowed them to perform a lot of the intelligence, a lot of the reporting, create a lot of flexibility, a lot of scalability, things that they didn't have the ability to do before. Tim?
Is this a multi-location deployment? 2 locations?
Yeah, I think it's 2 right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like in here, we did our CRM connector. So we have a list of different CRM applications that our standard APIs connect to. But if there's one that's not on there, let us know which CRM it is. Like I just came across it actually in the trucking world the other day. They have a specific CRM that is very specific to the trucking world. So we're looking at right now, we're working with their software provider just on building APIs. You know what that effort is, just to build the APIs. The only piece of that I would say we probably would not do is the managed Wi-Fi. So we can deploy the PoE switch, we can deploy the handsets, we can bring the network in, we can deploy, you know, the UCaaS piece. If there's contact center portions of it, we can do. That managed Wi-Fi piece, I'll tell you, is a gap for us. So you would need to actually have one other provider to actually do the managed Wi-Fi piece. And then, you know, as far as competition, you know, we were in there against, you know, some well-known competition, obviously. But I think, you know, one of the things in here that was to our advantage was our ability to actually bring a full rounded solution to the table, you know, where they did not have to piece and part it out to different providers. And we're seeing that quite a bit, you know, where customers, they don't want to deal with multiple vendors anymore. They don't want to have to go to different sources for support, different sources for account management and billing and things like that. So that's where, you know, we feel our biggest advantages these days is we'll go up against, you know, different providers in different subjects. So I compete head-to-head on UCaaS with, you know, the 8x8s and the Ring Centrals and the IP phones and those guys. I'll compete, on the network with CenturyLink and AT&T and those guys, but none of them actually bring all the other pieces together the same way that we do, and then wrap it up with our white glove service. So that was a good win for us, here in Florida. And then really, there we go. And then another one that was, I think this was in Texas. So again, a TCG win. You see a $14,000 MRC. And again, we're finding now with this larger mix is our deal sizes are growing. Whereas in the past, when it was just UCAS, there was really a limit. If they, beyond selling UCAS, we really had nothing much more in the portfolio to sell them. Now, with all these other things that we have the ability to have conversations around, even a small deal right now, I mean, I'm working on one that is relatively small. I mean, it's literally 15 seats, but there's also contact center and network in there, and it's probably going to be a little over a couple $1,000s. So if you extrapolate that out to 100, 500, 1,000 seats, and then build these different solutions together, in the same client, we're going to see our deal sizes quadruple, and up around that Windhaven is going to be a standard for us. So that's going to allow us to have conversations, natural conversations with much larger client bases. So gas electric, almost, the same thing. They were multi-location. So, to Tim's question earlier, this one was 11 sites, 100 users. Again, contact center. They had a legacy MPLS. They had multiple voice providers. Again, vendors that they had to manage, right? So there's pain there, there's challenges. That's why we want to get engaged, is we want to understand what these challenges and pains really are so that we can then go in and address, you have a pain, we have a solution. You have a challenge, we have a solution, right? So we approached this the same way. They had an old ShoreTel on-prem that they were having, support issues around. Obviously we all know what MPLS costs from the big providers, right? So they were taking a look at, how do we now move our network to the cloud? So, we actually look at our optical network not just as a means of delivering dedicated internet and dark fiber and optical waves and things like that. It's an on-ramp to our cloud as well. So it's a means for us to get our client in a more efficient, secure manner to our cloud and to deliver all of these cloud applications that we want. So we talked to them about that, and they had some bad experiences that we had to overcome as well. So, they had to have a comfort level now in saying, all right, so do we still go down this hosted path, considering the experience that we had before. And one of the things that, made a difference was, again, that white glove service. The ability to handhold, we'll take on the lion's share of that deployment. We'll take on the responsibility to get this, migrated, up and running, and supported, properly. Because it doesn't really stop once, we're done and we shake hands and the contract is signed. As far as I'm concerned, that's when it starts, right? Now they've given you a level of confidence that they're going to go with you. Now we have to prove it, right? So there's a lot of resources on our side that go into proving that on an ongoing basis. So what we ended up providing them actually was, again, our UCAS solution, with our mobility application, voice analytics, so reporting, things like that. Business intelligence was important for them. So, things that they weren't able to extract out of the business today, they didn't know what they didn't know, right? But once you have the ability to pull out the proper metrics and understand what that is, you can make proper business decisions. So that's one of the challenges that we were able to solve for them, is to give them in a readable, understandable format in our reporting through our voice analytics, the information that they can make proper business decisions on. Dedicated internet. So this was a pretty broad, well-rounded solution actually for gas electric. We brought in our BroadSoft contact center in this case, and here our competition was 8x8 and AT&T. So that's pretty much momentum today. Hopefully we were able to give you a little bit more of a story, that you can take forward. Like I said, engage us early. We succeed, when we're with you and we go in together and we're able to actually solve these problems and challenges. Thanks very much.